Scrappy Peeps, Suzanna here today for Elle Studio, and I'm sharing with you my first layout created with the October kit and add-ons. That is the layout there. And do you see the new stamp set? It's medium-sized Jane Alpha. Woot woot! So I'm going to create a mixed media background to start with. I am using some of my Distress Oxide inks, and I am just using the packaging or smooshing technique and kissing them to the paper, adding a little bit of extra water, and then just putting some splatters. I want a cascade of falling leaves. You can see all those papers on the right hand side of the screen. That is actually, I have used the die cut files, the leaves, and I've created a cascading scene of leaves with the patterned paper. The paper stack this month is Jewel Polka Dots, and then I've mixed that with last month's Autumn Days paper stack. And so I've cut the leaves, and I want a column down that left hand side of the page to put these leaves on top of. I'm using some of my Distress Oxide Speckled Egg, that sort of bluey gray, to just add a little bit of fall color. I used a darker brown, and I've waited for that to dry, and now I am going to set to work and create. This is a sheet from the Autumn Days paper stack. I love all the colors and how it'll incorporate a lot of color into the page. So I'm just putting a torn edge of that on that right hand side. This is a card from the October kit, the obviously 4x6 card, and I'm going to use that to house my photos. I have two 3x4 photos. Both of them are of my son. They're sort of a series of shots. The title of this layout is actually, it's Falling Leaves, and then the subtitle is And Apples. I love his laugh in that first photo. So he's holding the top of his head because we were apple picking, and the apples dropped on top, or one of the apples as he jumped up dropped and landed on his head. And then that second photo is of him looking up to the apple tree and where that apple may have come from. So this is another one of the 3x4 cards from the kit, and I'm using it just for some splash of color to the top and the bottom of the photo there. I am overlapping them again just to provide some movement to this. There's a lot of movement in this page with that cascade of leaves that's going to go down that left-hand side there. I do want to pop one up from the other just to, again, add some dimension to the page. I'm using some foam for that and some double-sided tape because I find that sticks best. I found that liquid adhesive, depending on what you're using, sometimes the foam doesn't complete, it just dries to the foam and not adhering the foam to the paper there. I just did a thread ball, as I call them, or a thread wad, to put behind the photo. There's something very organic about the thread, and with the organicness of that mixed media on the left-hand side, I just wanted to tie those two things in together. You can see I used a scrap of the leaves to just back a little bit of the photo, just a corner, kind of like a photo corner in a way, and add some color into that there. I do unfortunately cover up a good chunk of that 4x6 card, but I like the way that it frames the photos. These are the October labels, and I'm going to use one of those labels at the top there, again, to tie in a little bit more color. I have that whole fall rainbow of colors down the right-hand side of the photo, and I want to pull in a little bit more of that color into the whole layout there. Those are two of the acrylic leaves. Again, I chose colors that coordinated with the layout that I'm using, wanting to really stick with that fall color palette and more of the primaries in that fall color palette. I absolutely love those acrylic leaves. They're so awesome, and they go so well with these wood veneers. So these are the autumn wood veneers, definitely a must-have if it is autumn or fall in your part of the world, and you, or if you still have past photos that you want to document. They are super awesome for those memories. That was just a little bit of a card that I thought I might use that little heart to complement the same green in the layout, but it really just stood out as this white eyesore, and you couldn't see the color going down the page the way that I wanted it to. Using liquid adhesive to get these acrylics on, that truly is the best way to get those on, and especially if you use a clear drying liquid adhesive, then you can continue to have the opacity of the those acetates. Acrylics, sorry, those are acrylics. So when I put these papers, so they were scraps on some of them, and I didn't want full sheets because I cut it in that cascading effect so that I knew how they were going to go down. I organized the leaves on my Design Studio, and then I cut them out so that I knew I could transfer them directly from the mat to the page, and so they're just pieces, and some of the pieces didn't cut fully, and that's why I am trimming some of them so that you can not see where they didn't cut properly. There's nothing wrong with them, they just needed to be trimmed down a little bit. So I'm adhering those so that the title of Falling Leaves and Apples makes sense. And also it's a fall layout, and there are fall leaves all around the place, and so that is the effect that I'm going for. So that yellow leaf that I just stuck on there, even in this video, you can see how it's difficult to see. I do go in off camera with my Elle Studio pen, and I'm going to just outline that so that it pops off the page and it looks much better with the outline in it. So also this month, as part of the add-ons, you have the autumn wood veneers. You have that thing that is at the top there that says Autumn Moments Documented. And then you have a couple of sayings, and I've got crisp and cool air at the bottom of that photo, that left-hand photo. And then you have these awesome leaves that are the same shape as these digital cut files that I've used here. And so I'm interspersing some of the wooden leaves in with my die cut leaves cascading down the page there. And I love that fall feel, that organic feel that has created there. So new this month are medium alpha Jane alpha stamps. And you can get both the solid as well as the outline. And so I'm going to use the solid for my title and then outline a few of those, again, just to give that sort of free-flowing organic feel to the layout. So I have some Catherine Pooler, I think that's right, CP Catherine Pooler, I can't reach them. Yes, Catherine Pooler inks. They are new to me, and I absolutely love them. I don't like that red is hard to clean, but otherwise I absolutely love these inks. They are a dye ink, and they stamp. I love the color. They're really bold, crisp colors. So I'm going to use all three of those colors there. I'm going to do Falling in that sage, and then I'm going to do Leaves in that yellow color, and then I'm going to do and Apples in that red color that I have there. So not enough letters, so I'm going to, or I need double L's. So I use the 7 as a placeholder in lining that up. And again, they aren't straight. It's intentional that the letters aren't straight to add to that organic feel of the layout. Unfortunately, when I stamp this second time, I get the frame of the block that I'm using. And so I'm just going to scratch that out with the tip of an X-Acto blade. You can see it there. It's not all that noticeable really, but it bothered me, and so I had to do something about it. So I'm put away the letters for Falling, and I'm going to do Leaves. I think I love that this isn't a true yellow because I didn't properly clean off the stamps, and so there's a little bit of that red behind it, but I like that look. It's kind of it's like the transitional colors of the leaves, so I'm gonna just go with it. I like it, and it actually adds to the effect for me. So Falling Leaves is the main title, and then the part that really makes sense is the apples and apples. And I'm going to go in after I put these away with actually I'm going to do the outlines first, and that I am going to do with a brown, that's a VersaFine ink, and just go in, and I'm not doing all of them, and again, it's for that organic feel. And then later when I finished with this, I will go in with the smaller Jane Alpha stamp, the original Jane Alpha stamp, and put in an apple so that it makes sense. Now you'll see as I'm designing this layout that there seems to be this white space and this huge gap between falling leaves and the photos. But I know that I want to journal between falling leaves and the photos. So in my mind, as I'm designing this layout, that is not actually going to be white space there. And I know that I'm going to fill that in so that there is that continuity going down the page. What I was showing you there was how I managed to get ink. Every time I stamp, I always get ink on my fingers. I don't always notice it. And so I end up with this ink on the layout and I'm like, man, where did that come from? And I know it's my fingers because I'm not a very neat stamper, which is why letters that aren't straight up and down work perfectly for me. And if you follow my work, you know that title work is getting it straight and lined up nicely is not my forte. So if I can get away with putting it askew, I will absolutely go for that option every time. So again, I need 2 A's and 2 P's, so I'm just going to stamp what I have, use a placeholder, and then go in with that second letter. So there's the A, and then I'll go in with the P. So again, this is Elle's Studio, and this is my first layout. Today is release day, so be sure to check out the description box down below for all of the goodies that I've used in this layout. It is an affiliate link, so you will be able to see the things that I've used and be linked to the shop there. So originally I had intended for this autumn to go in that top right there, but even with the journaling that I knew I wanted to put, it created a weird feel to the layout because it was so close to the title. It felt like it needed to read with the title, which I didn't want it to do. It has nothing to do with the title. So I want to move it away from that title block on the right-hand side, which requires rearranging some of the leaves and elements, which is absolutely fine because it actually kind of fills that space in a little bit better. And I like the way that that die cut from the kit that is underneath Autumn with the same cascade of colors on the right-hand side just ties that left-hand side of the page into the right-hand side. So that, my friends, is going to wrap it up. I'm just going to journal off camera. I am going to add those little dots you can see there from the tiny dots and hearts, and that is also linked down below. Enjoy the close-ups. Thanks for stopping in today. I hope you're doing well. Take care.